P shit. Who used to be with Google. Who used to be with Google.
Same response, sir.
Patrick P shit. Patrick P shit.
Same response, sir.
Who used to be with Google. Who used to be with Google.
Happy Friday, everyone.
Have a nice day.
Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
Missing parts. Who, what the hell? Thank you. Nice. Nice.
People went.
It used to be with Google. It used to be with Google.
Same response, sir.
Patrick P. Shett. Patrick P. Shett.
Same response, sir.
It used to be with Google.
Guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry
we're in trouble.
compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense
With our peaceful methods and goals.
Days, Patrick Bergy, former cybersecurity veteran, former DoD contractor, working on ShadowNet,
The film is Shadow Gate. Millie Weaver and her husband, played the video last hour, got arrested in Ohio today. Grand jury for stealing documents, I guess, or something. They wouldn't even tell them. They just said burglary. And so that's now happened. So I guess their paranoia has turned out to not be paranoia, but legitimate concern. And so Patrick Bergy, this is a 5-minute segment. 10-minute segment's coming up next. But get in, because you've already covered a lot of incredible things. The point is, this is going on domestically. What does President Trump need to do?
Incredible things.
President Trump needs to, I mean, the whole world needs to, in my opinion, sort of take a mulligan and acknowledge that all of this is happening and that we're just destroying our country. We're destroying the integrity of the election process, that's for sure, which is the core of our democracy. But I would argue, and so do a lot of people, that we're actually destroying humanity in the process.
Destroying humanity in the process. Welcome to the American Awakening, the Bergy-Bit edition. I got my thing over behind me right now, which cleared up more space here to see screens I have to have open. And then I can just change it here. But if I change it here, I'm not 1,000% confident it changes there, so I got to look back. Happy Friday, everyone. PFC Bergy reporting for duty. Missing Parts, thanks for taking control of the chat room there. Nice. Hello. Betty Davis, hello. Peppermint Pat, Hip, saw you there earlier. I've been chatting with Hip. I hope he doesn't come out and make claims that I tried to like sexually molest him or something. Are we good? Are we good, Hip? Have I been completely a gentleman the whole time? Kath, hello, and thank you very much for resubscribing at Tier 2 a couple days ago. Betty Davis, there we are. Firefly, who? No, got a great show lined up tonight. Kath is like, I'm like, we'll keep it completely professional. Yep. Kawasaki kid, very grope me. I wouldn't grope it. If your name was the Harley kid, maybe. Fucking Kawasaki, I'd just laugh at you. Got a great show lined up. Oh, that stung a little bit, didn't it? Kawasaki kid. No, I got a pretty good show lined up. I went from great to pretty good, but, you know, I try to maintain an air of humbleness. Being the molecule that I am. What button do I want? I'm in welcome. Let's go to capture full and take a look at what we got lined up. Well, see now? I'm glad I looked back here. Where are you? Show notes 2022 12/02. Lot of twos going on there. A lot of twos going on there. Here we are. Is everything looking good? There we go. And sound okay, guys? Just taking a look. I got plenty of space free. I got so much space freed up on my C drive, it's not even funny. It's the external drives that have a bit of a problem, but they've got a couple hundred gigs available on them now, so we should be good. Spectacular day. Spectacular day. The newest member of the Bergy-Bit is on her way. She will be here by Friday of next week, but if everything went well, a little low, here we go. If everything went well, I can bring that up actually right there. If everything goes well, I don't want it to go, there we go. If everything goes well, she'll be here maybe Wednesday. Oh my God. I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's kind of like a Hail Mary thing. Until you fully understand the scope of it, and until I think I'm going on a lot of faith right here now, and science, with an investment that I made, right? This is on my ass, totally. And but, excuse me, I believe it's going to really add a bit of uniqueness to the show for the next couple years, right? And what can I say? I'm a freaking nerd, right? I don't know what anybody, Sure, I'm sitting there all tough with my Bikers for 45 cut, right? He's all tough there, but and the Afghanistan veteran hat. But he's a nerd at heart. He is, and that kind of takes me to what do I want to do here. So I set up. I got this set up. It's and I set it up the other day, but I really put a lot of work into it over the last couple days, right? I put some work. I put some work into the. If you go to freedomstream.tv/contribute, super easy, right? I put some work. Hopefully, made it. Cleaned it up. Kind of put what we're trying to do here. Made it nice and simple. Looks great from a phone too. And so if you can help out, man, we could really use your help, especially after that investment that I just put into the show myself. Not that I haven't, I haven't taken a freaking paycheck since ever, right? Have I, the resources that come in, I just turn around and use it immediately to try to keep us going, to do better. And that was going really well until I was attacked by Millie, Gavin, Tori. When you have that much just kind of bullshit going on, trying to destroy you, it took its toll. I knew it would. I knew it would in New York when I recorded that thing with Tori. Right? I wasn't stupid. Well, people think that I'm like, people look at me differently in different ways, right? As it pertains to Shadowgate, Millie, Gavin, Tori. People look at like, you got played. Oh, you're stupid. There is some of that involved in everything that went on. But you know what else was involved with what went on? It was me trying to find and understand the networks that were going on from what I saw, right? So very openly, publicly, I saw what appeared to be coordinated tactical IAA operations going in our homeland. And so I tried to report that and do some good stuff. It's Stevie the Pool Guy here. We're going to give Stevie a call back here. Can you call back later? There we go. Yes, Stevie, he's awesome, right? It's like, so the best thing about Stevie is he has no clue, nothing to do with any of the stuff that you and I and so many others that follow this actually deal with in our day-to-day lives. Some obsess on it, me, and a lot of people are just so seemingly invested into, I don't know, as patriots protecting our country, or seeing, what happened, trying to figure out what happened. We're all good for that. But, before I filed the Ketam, which was made possible by my Patreon supporters, right? They bought me a ticket. A train ticket to D.C. I put together the Ketam on the train, on the ride there. And before I filed, I knew this was going to potentially cause me or put me in a situation that was too unpredictable to build a predictive model on. I don't even care if you're using like the most advanced quantum systems. Well, you know, once you file a Ketam, you don't know, against some of the most powerful people on the planet, you don't know what's going to happen, but you know something's going to happen. Why do you do that? You knew that it probably wouldn't go anywhere in court. Yeah, I knew that. But I also knew it might help show me how these networks work. And sure enough, it did. I was shortly after that, a couple months later, contacted by Tori. A couple days after that, a couple months after that, a couple days after that, I was contacted by Millie and Gavin. Met in D.C. Met in Ohio on the farm on July 4th weekend, and shot, did my interview and stuff for Shadowgate. Then I took off, right? I took off and I went up to Michigan. I drove around Michigan. I went back to my hometown, Alto, Michigan. It was a population of 300 at the time. Hadn't been back there in over 20 years. Probably closer to 30 years at the time. Went out to the cemetery where my dad was buried. And keep in mind, this was like COVID lockdown central. Went to the Ionia Free Fair. Found that to be interesting. That was in Ionia, Michigan. First time the fair had closed in the 100 years that it's been open. In fact, the free fair is supposed to be like the world's oldest free fair. And it's because it was originally started about 1 or 2 years before the first COVID infection in 1917, right? So, you know, and I went around and I shot some video of it. I did not engage. I was on a Harley. I did not engage on social media very much at all. Went and saw some friends. Again, we were in a lockdown. I took video. I wanted to be able to document everything. And then went to Indiana. Then I went to Indiana, met up with my friend Jeff there. I hadn't seen him in years. Then I drove my Harley to Dallas, Texas, where I met up with my good friend and supporter, Susan, who was also the CFO for my company, BB Media. She had an accounting firm there, an amazing lady, so helpful. It was like a blessing, right? It was a blessing in disguise. It's like God sent this perfect angel of a woman to come help this freaking whistleblower that was completely broken at this point, I'm telling you. And to help give me a voice. And then, you know, enter Tori, an absolutely evil individual who did everything in her power from virtually the day that we met. And, you know, we had talked about that many times, even before the outing occurred, about how frustrated I was. Scott Bennett backs me up fully on this, on how frustrated it is. Like, everything I tried to do when I was in D.C. was thwarted by Tori. And it was just becoming a joke at a certain point. But there was nothing I could do. She was part of Team America. She inserted herself in there. Had anyone done anything, if Millie or Gavin said, "Oh, we wanted to, you're too much trouble" or something, she would have turned this cyber army that she had now developed of banning sociopaths against Millie, Gavin, Tori, and I. Right? So, fast forward. We have Shadowgate come out. Millie is arrested. I ended up on InfoWars. And that brings us to where part 3 of the 10-part Psywar series comes into play. In part 3, now you like my. By the way, do you like the picture, the image? That's licensed from Adobe, so don't give me shit about that. So this is you can find this page at freedomstream.tv/Psywar. It is not behind a paywall. It's behind a firewall, but not a paywall. And of course, if you click on the show notes. Now, something I might do is put, I'm probably going to do, like, over the weekend, the next remaining shows in advance, right? But I'll not have them fully done, just named and designated. And I'll be updating and adding to them over the coming weeks. And if you do have, if you are a Patreon supporter, I'm going to limit access will be limited to each one until the day of the actual show, advanced access, just to help, but just to provide something, special for the Patreon supporters. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my Patreon supporters. That's where I met Susan. Unfortunately, Susan, those people turned on Susan. Tori's people, Jason Funes. Now we know Funes was actually part of. Funes was part of the Stop the Steal. He was actually paid. I saw that there was a receipt from the Women's March thing that he was actually even funded. Something like $8,000 that he got. And I asked, I just asked myself, was any of that money used to attack me or to attack Susan, who was the CFO of my company, to where she had to completely separate, and her kids, to threaten her kids. And I have zero doubt whatsoever that Funes was not acting completely on the authority and orders of Tori, right? She acknowledged that a couple weeks ago, only she was referring to KC, but absolutely, she was the first one. I actually met Jason through Tori, so they already knew each other. They were talking. I had commented. I had talked about that. I understand. What's up with Tori, by the way? Is she offline right now? Someone said that she hadn't done or posted something new for like a week. Is that accurate or no? I don't know. I don't follow her shit at all. I got really cool stuff going on, and I got stuff that I've been building. I mean, look at all the stuff I've done on the site. You can't look at all the stuff I've been doing here and not say, okay, he's been busy. Follow the smell and you'll find her, right? We could use earthquake sensors. Track her movement. That was awful. But we do try to keep things humorous here. She hasn't had a show on Rumble for over a week. Oh, you saw it on her TG channel today. So she's back on, probably, I guess. I didn't suspect She would be far. Apparently, people are making up stories that I had been arrested. That is fucking hilarious. Well, you know, it's kind of a mixed bag for me. Hold on one second here. It's kind of a mixed bag for me because on one hand, I don't want to get arrested. I don't want to have my life put through a nightmare like that. But on the other hand, it would force my conversation that I've been putting so much effort to in the website and speaking engagements for years. It would force it into the court to where I would be able to now mount a defense or include it in a defense. So Tori said she will announce post-op surgery tomorrow. Why she had surgery. Jesus Christ. Probably one of those gastric bypass things. But, so, let me do this here. So, let's just click on this. But actually, I can go right here. There we are. And, Psychological Warfare in the Age of Social Networks, Part 3, Psywar Journalism. Tori calls herself a journalist. Millie Weaver calls herself a journalist. I think Alex Jones denies being a journalist. I think it just depends on what day he is. Most of the people working for him claim to be journalists, right? Laura Logan was a journalist. Sarah Carter was a journalist. Judge Janine Pirro, she considers herself a journalist. Jillian Turner considers herself a journalist. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm listing off people I've personally met, engaged with, and fucked me over, right? So I, some people will be like, "Oh, Bergy, why do you keep always just bringing this stuff up?" Well, because I'm a fact witness to it, and it kind of seems to me like that should be relevant. That should be important. It should matter that this isn't just something I'm repeating secondhand or things of that nature. These are key people, key people in our country's politics. And so I think it's important to understand why we all, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, why we all look at the news today and say, wow, everything seems really like coordinated and controlled, not like there's a whole bunch of different news organizations with people going out and investigating different things and just breaking all these wild stories, and some of them are really good, heartwarming stories, and some of them are just horrible, but they had to be told, right? That's not the world that we live in. We live in a world where we turn on the news, we launch a social media app, and all we see are tactical, coordinated news, right? And so what I wanted to do is say, why is it that that's happening? Everybody knows it's happening, so who's saying, okay, why is it happening? And let's get to the bottom of this. Well, I believe if you did that, you would find that very much behind the tactical controlled narrative that you see when you turn on anything today is behind the military-industrial complex and a handful of technocrats. And what they are doing they are the puppeteers, right? Now, in order for this to work, you don't need like this cabal of people.
People went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're in the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them.
So they don't need to call a meeting, but you have these like-minded individuals. Everyone in my chat right now is a like-minded individual to what I'm saying. Virtually everyone in my chat, thank you about the Judge Janine there, Nick. I couldn't agree more. Everyone that's in my chat right now, we kind of, most of us probably agree with many of the things that people that we don't like say, right? You know, except for Bodie. Well, that's okay because I block Bodie from my view. I don't see the things that Bodie posts, so Bodie doesn't matter to me. Just a molecule, whoever the fuck it is, just a molecule. So what I do is, there we go. So we have this control of the media by these trained professionals. We're training them, right? We're paying them. We're training them. They're trained and taught with our taxpayer dollars. And our taxpayer dollars are funding programs that not only teach people to shoot and to kill and to blow things up, which I'm perfectly fine with, but they're also teaching those same people, which often aren't the sharpest tools in America's shed, right? And no offense, I was one of them, right? I can make that joke. But we're training these people not only to shoot, blow things up, we're training them to lie. We're training them in misinformation, disinformation. And I'm just saying, okay, wow. Has anyone stopped and said, I wonder if that could be I wonder if spending billions of dollars to teach Americans, tens and tens of thousands of Americans, to in tactics of misinformation, disinformation, to teach them to lie, to teach them that the most ethical way to win is to lie. Not that necessarily killing someone or blowing them up is in any more ethical way to deal with it. That's not my argument, right? It's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that we have adversaries that are trying to destroy us out from outside, using the same social media psychological warfare applications that our military creates to try to defend us from these external attacks. That seems completely legitimate, right? These are threats. These are like missiles coming into our country. But instead of targeting them with, anti-missiles, what is it? C-rams, counter rocket mortars. We have to target them with a counter message. Now, in the first episode of this 10-part series, I talked about I brought up a little bit the early history, like the Rockefellers and shit, right? But that's not really my area. Then the second episode I went into what is that? The indigenous component, right? To where we showed the video put out by our military, psychological warfare officers, subject matter experts, and how, and they sat there and discussed their tactics. I'm not entirely sure that's probably the best thing to do, but okay, I'm not in uniform anymore, so I'm like I'm a molecule. But, you know, it's like, at least if you're a molecule in a uniform, you actually have a little bit more say in things. A little bit more than a molecule. So, what impact is this having on America? We have a legitimate threat that we need to defend from, right? Let's say we're being attacked by locusts. Well, you know, let's reach out to Monsanto and say, hey, can we get some malathion? I don't know if malathion kills locusts, but it's purportedly completely safe. In fact, the guy that invented it drank it. But that was like 20-some years ago. I wonder if he's still alive, you know. He survived weeks after that, months after that, so we'll have to, might want to do a double check on that. But so that's good. And so you see these freaking trucks driving around all the time, mosquito trucks and shit, and they're like, well, you know, we're going to, because mosquitoes kill. And so they spray the mosquito trucks driving around, you know, bing, and then all of a sudden you go, ah, shit. Nah, it's general. It's usually like a malathion. And that's good. We control it. You know, but ammonia, anhydrous ammonia, NH3, right? That would, liquid ammonia under pressure, once it's released under pressure, when it's a liquid, but once it's no longer under pressure, it becomes a gas. It's a very like heavy gas, so it keeps very low to the ground, and really anything, whether it's grass or a mosquito or a locust or a human being, if it comes in contact with it, it's got moments to live. If it doesn't have like a thing of safety water or something, I think water neutralizes it. But I mean, you're like totally screwed. Now, great. That can kill locusts. It can stop this threat of locusts. It can stop, you know, mosquitoes but what good is it if it fucking destroys us in the so if we had those mosquito trucks driving around with anhydrous ammonia, you know, we'd solve the mosquito problem. Absolutely. But we'd also solve like a human problem too. Or I don't think it's really a problem being human if you're human. We would create all sorts of new issues with that. So is that what we're doing here with psychological warfare, right? What are these people doing when they leave the military that we train to shoot, blow shit up, lie, misinformation, disinformation? And then we say, hey, by the way, when you leave, you can almost certainly get a job at a news organization. That was, I believe, our episode 1. Where's this? You know, what are they doing? What are we doing? They're literally offering massive financial incentives to join the Psywar component, the psychological warfare component, and then they're saying, hey, and by the way, when we've trained you in misinformation and disinformation, you can get a job at virtually any news organization in America, which should tell you something right there, right? You know, hey, wait a minute. You know, maybe news organizations shouldn't be hiring anyone that's ever had anything to do with the PAO. Or, as we'll see here a little bit later in the show, Civil Affairs. The Public Affairs Office, Military Civil Affairs, right? But that's after we dig into a little bit more of what we got right here. And I'm babbling away right now, so let me dig into this. So what I did when we first came online, let me bring this back to full so I can read. Yeah, this actually works out pretty good, and I can kind of see it change in the periphery of my vision there. So tonight, in part 3 of our 10-part series, I'd like to do a reaction video to the first Special Forces Command online discussion on military civil affairs and its impact on our Constitution and the damage we are causing to the freedom of the press, which they are tasked to protect and defend from all threats, foreign and domestic. So the first clip that I had played was a short clip from my live studio interview with Alex Jones, InfoWars, at the InfoWars studio on August 14th. Was that 16th? 14th, 16th, one of the two. 2020, following the arrest of American journalist Millie Weaver, right? Which, what is the connection to, InfoWars and the military-industrial complex? Well, I've identified connections to InfoWars and the military-industrial complex are everywhere, beginning with my arrival at the InfoWars studio in Austin, Texas, where the studio sits in the middle of Austin's MIC district near the airport, the military-industrial complex district. So I arrived there kind of freaking out because Millie had just gotten arrested about maybe an hour or so earlier. And I said, well, by the way, I believe Alex Jones filed bankruptcy today. Like, actually filed, not just like talked about it. Because of the $1.5 billion in lawsuits that he's got. And, this is going to be highly problematic for him because once you file, when you file in federal court, in bankruptcy court, you can be in some deep shit. You can be in some seriously deep shit if you get caught hiding money and stuff. And, this bankruptcy court is, they want money, right? They're looking for money. Chances are this isn't like a big fan of these. It's kind of limited on his odds, especially if it ends up like in Austin, on him getting someone that's kind of like that's a big fan of InfoWars, right? So I go over there and I'm like literally surrounded. I'm in the middle of the Austin military industrial complex. So it's like, what connection, what influence does the military industrial complex actually have on Alex Jones and on InfoWars? Now, I could go to so many videos of Steve Pachenik, of so many different people that have verifiable either intelligence or military backgrounds that are very much connected to InfoWars. But I thought, wow, the easiest and the most easiest and obvious is just this one right here.
And this is all about sort of a one world order that they're moving toward. And this is not a conspiracy theory, Alex. This is a conspiracy. And
Charade would have held up over time, but they couldn't help themselves. With careers made by the prestige and money that can be achieved only through continuing their campaign elsewhere, the Coindinistas start talking about G-Coin, or global counterinsurgency, a worldwide fight to perform nation building under the rubric of the War on Terror.
And what we have to understand is that the big take is the United States of America. We're in this battle between really competing ideologies, and this is no kidding. And the competing ideologies is whether we're going to continue on as a democracy and a constitutional republic, or whether we're going to go become a communist country.
Mike and Charlie, back for another adventure.
Just real quick, I believe Trump put out a video. Riley shared a link on Twitter that he put out a short. Trump put out a short video mentioning the people that were incarcerated on January 6th. I think the whole thing just was hollow as a tree stump and just fell. I don't think it helped him even in the slightest. But he should have done something. He should have. Well, okay, he should have never agitated the crowd, told them and fed them the lies, so many lies. That were being fed to Rudy Giuliani, by the way, by Tory, Milley, Gavin, and a handful of others, right? So this is significant. This matters, right? So why didn't he do something? Well, first of all, why did you allow yourself to get people so riled up on fabricated information that you couldn't really fully verify? It was inappropriate. It was wrong. But then, so you shouldn't have done it. But when you did it, let's say you did do it, and let's say you did it because you had a reason, like, I was doing a coup. Well, the very least you could have done is to pardon the frickin' people that you lied to get there to come, and you told them things that wasn't true, and you got them all worked up, you got them all ginned up. Should have freaking pardoned them, right? So A, you shouldn't have done it, but B, once you did do it, it was just a bullshit dick move not to fucking fix it. At that point, it just makes you not somebody that I would support or can be proud of or should even be talking about this. But then, but there he is. He's right up there with dining out with Yee, who apparently just got again, we got Yee, not a journalist, but a very well-known public figure. You got him destroying his career on InfoWars. Wonderful. Great job. Was that intentional? I'm thinking yeah, but that's just my opinion. I know Tori was trying to reach out to him. She'll be wanting to hurry on that. There's not going to be much left to him after this point. InfoWars, Alex Jones pretty much destroyed his career. And I guess Parler's back on the block now. So, if anybody's got... I imagine that's going to be going for a song at this point.
Growing up, they had wild times. Mike Flynn crashes four automobiles.
Nice.
He gets in one wreck with Charlie. Crossing an intersection, a car slams into them, a T-bone. Charlie and Mike climb out of their car. They're okay. The other car? Blood. Mike looks at it, sees the dead body. Oh, shit. They tell their dad. Nothing shocks their dad. Korean war vet, father of 9. Mike Flynn is on board. They just need to work his transfer from his division.
My father,
this should matter.
World War II vet, and my mom, right? Thank God that she decided to have as many kids as she did. They handed my brothers and sisters on a silver platter a beautiful country.
Major General Mike Flynn was considered within the military as one of the most brilliant intelligence officers of his generation. This was the 4th time he'd worked as McChrystal's number 2. He was of Irish descent, wiry with black hair and a touch of gray. A rat on acid, pointing to what his staff jokingly called a severe case of attention deficit disorder. You would never want to be his assistant, Duncan warned. He goes through them very quickly. He'd partied hard growing up in a family of 9, regularly getting out of control drunk while narrowly avoiding serious trouble. He followed in the well-established career path of youthful screw-ups.
Okay, I am not about to take that platter that I was given and turn it over to my children and my grandchildren as a communist country.
I sat down next to him and started fumbling with my questions. I wanted to begin with his career and family life. First, I asked him if he'd gone for a run that morning. One of McChrystal's defining characteristics, according to all the biographical material I'd read about him, was his obsession with fitness. He regularly would go on jogs for 6 or 7 miles. When he briefly lived in New York to work at the Council on Foreign Relations,
And we're only really here because thus far You've been right.
Wow. Nice. Thus far, I have been right on a lot of stuff. But, you know, so you've got Flynn with, who was like, you know, basically the head of intelligence for the U.S. military. He doesn't think anything of us. Anything of us. So you got Flynn, who is actually had something pretty weird going on with. Let me go into this. Leading up to and following the events of Chase 6, I noticed a very deep, almost competition for influence and money being spread around in D.C. Post-2020 presidential election with the Stop the Steal movement. An incident at an event around December 12th went viral, showing what appeared to be Alex Jones threatening a cowering and fearful retired General Flynn. And by the way, I remember thing very clearly. And Patrick Byrne was standing like right behind him too at the time, looking at that, going, "Oh shit, what's going to happen here?" And showing what appeared to be Alex Jones threatening a cowering and fearful retired General Flynn. It was embarrassing to say the least. And within a day, Flynn appeared to have blinked, doing an interview with Alex Jones in a room at Trump International Hotel. So, and then numerous conspiracy theories surround the death of journalist Michael Hastings, some of which I think have merit but lack actionable evidence. Joe Biggs, a friend of Hastings from the Sandbox, that being Iraq and Afghanistan, initially spoke out publicly about Michael's death, but later seemed to quiet down after joining Team InfoWars. Later to be arrested for his actions on J6. He was one of the people that helped tear down the gates that were keeping the people separated from the White House. So, is InfoWars, which is named literally after information warfare, and you know, as you all know, I kind of brought that up to him during my InfoWars interview. I mean, people say, when Millie and Gavin and Tori came out and said, Bergy was this asset and this and that. He was working for for Jones or something. I mean, how the fuck that happened? I literally filed a key tam with him. But, I'm just like, when you think about the questions and the things that I said on InfoWars, right next to Alex, I wasn't like tweeting him, right? I wasn't some Twitter trash tweeting him. And that I said that pretty good for the amount of bong hits I've done today. I would argue missing parts. But no, I wasn't just tweeting him. I was sitting there face to face saying, "Hey, this why the fuck did you name you?" Of course, I was a little hesitant coming to you. You literally named your show after information warfare, And he's like, got all defensive. Oh, no, I'm not going to, he gave a completely, well, let's just say he gave a completely bullshit explanation to why he named it InfoWars. Because, again, in my opinion, I'm literally sitting there in the heart of the military-industrial complex with what appeared to me to be like military-grade cable connectors hooked to the comms that they had on the rooftop and their security cameras. So, I add all these things up and I'm like, So, so there you have potentially a tremendous impact. I mean, does InfoWars, I mean, these are legitimate questions that people need to freaking ask. Does InfoWars have a connection, an actual like memorandum of understanding, like a contract with an organization like 4th Psychological Operations Group, 8th Psychological Operations Group, 1st Special Operations Command that oversees the psychological warfare components of the U.S. Army? Honest question, right? Because so many people seem to retire from the military and go to retire from government, the military, the intelligence component, the PSYOP component, and they just seem to go to work for InfoWars. I'm like saying maybe we should ask these questions. So what is that connection, right? Psywar and the homeland, journalism, and what does that do to journalism? Most people don't consider InfoWars, I don't think anyway, to be like actual journalists, right? But they do have a tremendous impact on a massive audience. Their audience have been targeted for their lack of ability to, rationalize, to be able to actually, have any control whatsoever, seemingly, of their ability to believe something that they know is almost certainly false, and to believe it from someone that they know is almost certainly a con artist and a bullshit artist. I don't personally, that gets way out of my area of expertise. So I'm going to stay out of there. But wow, if I had a degree in psychology and I wasn't a subject matter expert in IIA, I'd probably want to be looking into doing a couple papers on, InfoWars. They're journalists. But then we have, moving on, I have Leone and the Lincoln Group. So Leone and Link Group, just going to touch on this real quick because we got about 6 minutes left in the first half of the hour, and I wanted to be able to take and really dig into the second half of the hour. So we're gonna just brush through these pretty quick. But Lincoln Group and Leone, right? As you will see in the email between myself and the incoming IOTF commander, that's Information Operations Task Force Commander Major Brad Burris, I found myself on a contract working for Leone Industries in Kabul, surrounded by fraud, waste, and abuse. Not knowing who to turn to for advice, I reached out to Major Burris, who was previously the IIA chief for the JPOTA, the Joint Psychological Operations Task Force in Baghdad. Now, when we come back from the break, I'm going to read that. I'm going to read that email. I do so with very mixed emotions on this, and it absolutely requires my ability to provide context on it, right? But it's true, and
paying journalists a lot of money to
we'll go into this. We'll get to that in a moment.
Kind of gets into damaging the whole First Amendment, freedom of press, things like that. When you start paying journalists to push a particular narrative.
Handsome man with a hat.
Was BKSH and Associates a subcontractor?
Yeah, they were a subcontractor actually of the Lincoln Group. And who do you have with BKSH, right? You have many of the same players.
John McCain says we're fighting in Iraq to plant the seeds of democracy. But the firm of his chief political advisor,
Johnny Democracy Seed,
made millions lobbying for the world's worst tyrants.
At the same time that BKSH and Lincoln Group are building up these IIA contracts in Iraq, you've got others like Leone, like Jones Group.
Come on, I got to get some credit for that one. Johnny Democracy Seed for John McCain spreading democracy. Oh, come on. like MPRI, like L3, like GDIT, General Dynamics IT.
It's
all
not
of
even
these
Wednesday.
people vying for hundreds of millions of dollars in literally IIA contracts.
How did that become interactive internet activities?
Well, I think they wanted to really get away from some of the dust up. I mean, several $100 million in contracts were lost at that time in 2005. In fact, just a couple months after this first came out, this lady, May Shidiak, was almost killed in a car bomb.
I heard a blast. I felt it at the same time. I was still awake. I saw like a black snow falling over me.
Against all odds, though, she survived.
And actually, 2 other journalists at that time did die in car bombs as well. Why are journalists dying over there? Well, I'm thinking in order for the PSYOP community to be able to properly disseminate a narrative or a message, they have to be able to bring journalists in and control journalism as well to avoid some of the deconfliction.
What happens if they can't control a journalist?
Maybe you end up getting blown up.
And clearly, our people were overrun by the nut jobs.
By the nut jobs.
Gotta love it. So Leone and Lincoln Group, you know, people give me shit, say whatever you want about whether me being involved with Shadowgate was a good thing or a bad thing. It sure made for great, easy clips for me to use to help explain what I'm trying to explain. Let me see here. I want to read something from Firefly real quick. It says, have you ever read this article, Bergy? After leaving the Washington Post in 1977, Carl Bernstein spent 6 months looking at the relationship of the CIA and the press during the Cold War years. His 25,000-word cover story, published in Rolling Stone on October 20, 1977. No, I haven't. That'd be something I'd like to check out. So thank you for sharing that, Firefly. So you got Leone. That are and Lincoln Group, which many of the people from Lincoln Group, as you know, are now tied with Lincoln Project. But you got them fighting over, for multi-$100 million contracts, right? To influence and manipulate people in other countries. So again, we really need to stop, in my opinion. Again, and I'm not being like a pussy on this, right? Not trying to be. I was one of the people that helped in pioneering this. I looked at it and rationalized it, and it seemed like a very good idea at the time. But now, I can't look at this, seeing everything that's happening in our country right now, and say with that same confidence that I had in 07, 8, 9, 10, that I do now because of what it's doing. What helped me lead to that lack of confidence? Laura Logan helped me lead to that lack of confidence. Sarah Carter helped me lead to that lack of confidence. And what I'm going to do is, it's 8 o'clock right now. Let's go into a 10-minute intermission. And then I'm going to go in, because I don't want to rush through this. This is some good stuff right here. It's going over, a lot of you people watching this now have already are familiar with my whining about these people. But what I'm trying to do here is make a 10-part series on a page where as I'm bringing the new format from January 1 into 2020, all the way through to 2024, I'm trying to put together this to begin with, so that it makes it easy for me to be able to go back and reference to people specific with questions that, oh, hey, I've referenced this here in this Psywar series, right? So we're gonna go into a 10-minute intermission break. Everybody, if you gotta pee, go pee. If you gotta break the bong hit out, go break the bong hit out. I will see you guys in 10 minutes. Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
They never make the same mistake twice.
God bless you, Patrick.
They make it 5 or 6 times just to be sure.
Ah, you're right, Kawasaki Kid. An FAQ section. That's not a bad idea. That's complicated. Taxonomies, blah, blah, blah. But that's a good idea. I'll have my Christmas tree up Monday. I already got it. Hip, I'm so excited right now, you have no idea. Well, Hip has an idea. Hip knows how excited I am. Hey, thanks for sharing that out, Missing Parts. Thank you, Thomas Schellenberger, for this music. The harvest moon was good to you, Missing Parts.
I want the record to reflect that I did not call Senator Sanders an ignorant slut.
Nothing really, Firefly. I just showed a screenshot of what was coming to Hip earlier. Ooh, missing parts. Nice, nice, nice. Missing parts. Ooh. Your support is appreciated, Mr. Parks. God bless you. Thank you very much. It actually came in quite handy. And by the way, Mia said thank you too for her birthday. Real Firefly, ask Hip if I'm Hip can tell you, just like I don't care. I'm just not putting it out hugely right now. There's a couple people that know. It's pretty cool. You got to get the full story though, or it might not make sense. And I am absolutely excited. I am. This is gonna be fucking spectacular. Yeah, you guys have no idea how freaking in it. Oh, you have no idea. Never too much weed, Patricia Croft. I wouldn't go with rumors like that. National Archives being scrubbed. Evidence. Show me facts. Show me evidence.
Patrick P. Shit. Patrick P.
He
Shit.
used to be with Google.
He used to be with Google. He used to be with Google.
Same response, sir.
Patrick P. Shit. Patrick P. Shit.
Same response, sir.
He used to be with Google. He used to be with Google.
Oh, Patrick Pichet?
P. Shit. Patrick P. Shit. He used to be with Google.
Same response, sir. Same response, sir.
Patrick P. Shit.
The night of February 11th, the Egyptian dictatorship of Hosni Mubarak was falling. More than 100,000 people filled Cairo's Tahrir Square in wild celebration. Among those in the crowd was our 60 Minutes colleague, correspondent Lara Logan. Lara, a native of South Africa, is an experienced war reporter, but Tahrir Square became her most hazardous assignment. During the revolution, dozens of reporters were assaulted, often by agents of the regime. The night of the 11th, a mob turned on Lara and her 60 Minutes team and singled her out in a violent sexual assault. Since then, Lara has been recuperating with her husband and 2 children. Now, she's returning to work, and she's decided to tell the story of what happened just once here on our broadcast. She's speaking out, she tells us, to add her voice to those who confront sexual violence, to break what she calls the code of silence. Lara Logan arrived in Cairo at a moment of triumph for Egypt. She didn't imagine in the hours before midnight she would be fighting for her life.
The story will continue in a moment.
When we drove from the airport into Cairo that night, moments after Mubarak had stepped down, it was unbelievable. It was like unleashing a champagne cork on Egypt. I'm anxious to get to the square. I got to be there because this is a moment in history that you don't want to miss.
What does it look like?
I would disagree with that statement. It's a moment in history I'm sure she wished she had missed. Such a terrible... What you're going to watch here, what you're going to hear, is an absolutely tragic event, and I'm not trying to make light of it or anything about it in any way, shape, or form. This kind of goes to the whole damaging the credibility of journalism. Lara Logan was deeply embedded into the military-industrial complex, into the mainstream media military-industrial complex. And right now she's very close with Flynn, or she was. I had first gotten introduced to her through the JTF MAGA movement. She's been very much behind the scenes, more than probably anybody else, any single other journalist, when it comes to people that all ended up being kind of like under suspicion for the incitement of the whole J6 coup d'etat. More than anybody else, Lara Logan, in my opinion, was connected to every single one of them, pushing the same, in my opinion, bullshit. Lara Logan reached out to, or I was able to have a conversation with Lara Logan. We'll go into that after this, though.
It looks like a party. It's a roar of sound because everyone's so excited and they're singing songs of the revolution and they're shouting slogans. And everybody's, very physical. So you're being jostled and pushed, and sometimes people get closer. And my guys are very protective, and they want to keep people at bay. It was impossible not to get caught up in the moment, which was a real moment of celebration.
Tell me about your team.
Our producer was Max McClellan. My cameraman was Richard Butler.
Baha works for us.
We had a local fixer, Baha, whose job was to bridge the divide for us as foreigners.
The local Roger Stone.
We had 2 Egyptian drivers with us who purely there to act as security and bodyguards. And then we had a security person, Ray, who's done security all over the world.
Where was her husband? That's a question I have. We'll go into that.
This is what these people have been waiting for. They came here day after day. This is about freedom.
She reported without a hint of trouble for more than an hour.
And what happened then?
Our camera battery went down. And we had to stop for a moment, and suddenly Baha looks at me and says, "We've got to get out of here."
Baha is not happy here?
He's Egyptian, he speaks Arabic, and he can hear what the crowd is saying.
Yes.
He understands what no one else in the crew understands.
That's right. I was told later that they were saying, "Let's take her pants off." And it's like suddenly,
holy shit,
before I even know what's happening, I feel hands grabbing my breasts, grabbing my crutch,
holy shit,
grabbing me from behind. I mean, it's not, one person and then it stops. It's like one person and another person and another person. And I know Ray is right there and he's grabbing at me and screaming, "Lara, hold on to me, hold on to me."
She's lucky she didn't die. What a tragic event. Again, I in no way, I'm trying to have this conversation so maybe we don't have another Lara Logan incident where she's raped by 100 Islamic extremists. Where was her husband? That's one of the reasons she's really pissed off at me. I actually believe, well, everything I've read about her husband tells me that he would have been almost certainly, again in my opinion, involved on some sort of contract that, or potentially could have been involved. He absolutely potentially could have been involved on a contract where he was working with an IIA team that was pumping misinformation, disinformation into that crowd of people that ended up really, in my opinion, leading to what became that horrific event. Can I prove it? No. Did I spend 2 years over there working with these people? And maybe I'm somebody you should probably want to listen to? Yeah. So he apparently worked, most people didn't know, however, the nature of Burkett's work in Iraq. He was an employee of the Lincoln Group, a now shuttered strategic communications and public relations firm hired by the Department of Defense in 2005 to plant positive stories. Now, again, we just saw Lincoln Group. Is it my fault that I'm like, wow, these are a lot of connections to these people, right? And again, why did Lincoln Group lose that contract? Because Congress said, hey, we don't want to be seen as doing that because information operations, capabilities and planning, military deception planners seminar, SCI security officials. I had TS SCI clearance myself, right? This was pulled by the Freedom of Information Act for him. So Lara Logan. Discuss how I was introduced her. Logan done that. Discuss Lara Logan's work in the SIAP Egypt operation. Right there. You like how I'm putting this together? How these show notes help kind of keep me together on a theme that I can kind of follow. And I'm getting better at these too. So we're going to start taking a little bit slightly different approach come January 1. So Sarah Carter discussed how I was first introduced to Sarah, how the betrayal impacted me as a whistleblower at the time. Well, I was first introduced to Sarah Carter back on January 13, 2019. I had just spoken a few weeks earlier, though, to Judge Pirro on or about the 18th of December. So here we go. So, hi, Sarah. Got your number from a mutual friend. That guy, the mutual friend, was with JTF MAGA. All right. So, JTF MAGA, which also included Robert Karen, but that wasn't Robert Karen. It was another guy. One of Karen's friends that ended up, they separated from each other. He told me you would be expecting my call between 2 and 3 today. Today being Sunday, if there's a better time you would like to speak, please let me know and I will work around your schedule. I promise that what I have to say will be absolutely something. Hi, Patrick. Calling you shortly. Just got back. So, wrong way again, Berg. And so why is that in there? Hold on here. So, this is okay. It doesn't. I don't have a date on here, but I believe this is about February, first week of February. And difficult. And these came through out of order, by the way. That's why I had to actually put them in order. So this was her response to a text. That is great. I spoke with Judge Janine today and told her I would start putting some ideas together to get the stories rolling. I know this has been difficult for you, but I promise that I haven't forgotten. I'm working on making it clear for the viewer and readers. I'm also taking some of the other projects off my plate, so I will have more time, but I think we can start rolling some of these stories out next week. I then spoke to Judge Pirro, first time on December 18th, 2018. I just left Congressman Bill Arakis' office. Congressman Bill Arakis, just left there. Congressman Bill Arakis spoke with Devin Nunes yesterday, to arrange a classified briefing for me in the next few days. Sorry for the call at the doctor's office, but I'm told you're a journalist that seeks truth. I'm an Afghanistan veteran and a man of honor and integrity. I hope to hear from you, but if not, blah, blah. And so she responded back shortly later, working on this now. Right? Here we go. 10:26. I said Congressman Bill Arakis spoke with Devin Nunes yesterday to arrange classified briefing for me in the next few days. What happened to that? What happened to that? Does that matter? I was told by these people that I was going to be able to have a classified briefing with them to where I could speak and explain even better why I was saying the things I was saying back then, why the affidavits I submit, blah, blah, blah. Why did that happen? Why did, and Congressman Bill Arakis, he hates my guts. They won't even speak to me. But, by the way, and double verify this, please, but I was told by a pretty reliable source that Bill Arakis was pretty heavily steeped in the FTX thing, right? I suspect, and by the way, if Bill Arakis, a Republican congressman here, was involved with FTX, I guarantee you that little piece of crap, Mike Fasano, who attacked Trump like the week before the 2020 election, who's like Republican. I guarantee you he's got his hands involved in that FTX. I have no evidence of that. I'm just saying my intuition tells me that he would absolutely not have, and they're pretty close friends as well. So just throwing that out there. But sorry for calling at doctor's office, but I'm told you're a journalist, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for your time and consideration. And any consideration you can afford me. So is this the right way? I said, so then fast forward to Monday, February 4th. So it would have been, I think, February 4th when that last text from Sarah Carter happened. And said, Judge, the last I heard, so this is like 2 months, just about 2 months from when my congressman, Bill Arrakis, reached out to Congressman Nunes, faxed information, which I have documented evidence of, faxed an affidavit, sworn affidavit, showing evidence of treason, which, by the way, if you don't do very specific things with that, you will be found guilty of 18 U.S.C. misprision of treason. I'm just throwing that out there. This is where I'm taking this, is if this is where this needs to go. Congress people need to be thrown in jail for freaking treason, because when a credible whistleblower provides a signed sworn affidavit with evidence of treason and you do not do something with it, there's a reason that you have a law called misprision of treason. It's a U.S. code, a federal law, and you can't ever hold a position in office again if you are found guilty of misprision of treason. And you can get up to 10 years in prison, although if it's turned into treason, you can get freaking life and they can execute you. So what happened in that 2 months from December 18th to February 4th? Now, December 18th, keep in mind, Nunes was the head of, Republicans still held the Congress, right? They were in charge of it. Now, they had lost, and AOC and crew were about ready to take over. But what did they do? So they had this information. They had this information before they handed it over to the Democrats. That's why I hate these people so bad. That's why I call them out. That's why I say they're so freaking worthless. And that's why I hate their whining. And that's why I hate to see this guy Nunes at the head of Truth Social, because these are not honorable people. These are freaking treasonous people, right? That's why I say the things I do. That's why I put so much time and effort into this. As a whistleblower, but as a patriot, as a man, these are things that you need to do. So I said, Judge, the last I heard from you was back in December, where you had replied. You were looking into my story. Nobody has ever contacted me on your behalf. Although I was speaking with, actually, this probably was... Yeah, this is very, very, very close to the time when I had received the response back from Sarah Carter. I believe you to be someone of honor and integrity, just as I, and hope to hear from you soon. Thank you, Patrick Bergy. And literally, okay, so here, just to show, I get it. You deal with grifters, you deal with freaking Tories and all these people that make this shit up or would provide no evidence of it. But here's me with my unit, with the unit flag, JCSE. Here's me at the low ready, finger on outside the trigger well. PFC Bergy, right? Working with a special operations team. Could you maybe pay attention? So what she responds? She responds, I will speak to Congressman Nunes in RE your information. That was about 12 hours later, right? So what happened to that call? What happened to that conversation with Devin Nunes? Well, you know, one thing that did happen is about 2 days after Nunes got the call, and about 2 days after I spoke to Judge Pirro. Oh, look, Jillian Turner, our new cute little adorable little Fox News host, who then goes on to be the White House, one of the chief White House correspondents, along with Potato Head John Roberts. Said, oh, this week I had an awesome life comes full experience of interviewing my former boss of 7+ years, General Jim Jones. He's a 4-star Marine general who served as national security, blah, blah, blah. Well, you know, he was my boss for 8 years, bitch. Well, it's, you know, I answered to his son, but, you know, so I actually got you there. But, no, as soon as I reached out to Jillian Turner, shortly after this, when I reached out to Jillian Turner, actually, I reached out to her before that. So she already knew who I was. So a couple days after I speak to Pirro, Turner posts this and this right here. And that's her all proud with General Jones, her boss, owner of the company. I answered directly to his son, Jim Jones, for 8 years. She's better looking than me, though. I'll give her that. So, what is the involvement with the military, between the military industrial complex and our government and the information that we're being given? Just one last thing I wanted to throw out here was this was an email that I'd received from Garrett, and it's basically, you know, it's General Jones trying to get back on September 9th of 2019. So again, that's 2018. So about a year afterwards, he's trying to get into a meeting with President Trump about 5G, to discuss 5G. James Jones, looking forward to seeing you today, and thank you for finding time to do so. That's from speaking to Keith. This is a thing where Jones was trying to even. This was Jones trying to have somebody from Trump's White House, actually from Navarro's team. Again, this is Obama's national security advisor working with Peter Navarro, right? Who we're supposed to be like, oh, Peter Navarro is all for Trump. Well, he was all for Trump, and he was all for the military-industrial complex, apparently, too. Because he's like, just, you know, hey, get him on in here. He couldn't get these guys in to see Trump fast enough. But here, Mr. Meadows reached out to doctors in Boston and Dallas who are willing to treat Ivan. However, Mr. Madhu and his son are being prevented from obtaining visas to receive medical care in the U.S. Mr. Magoo is a member of the opposition party in Albania's parliament, and with support from several U.S. senators, he has pushed back on initiatives that Albanian Socialist Party is promoting. It appears to some that Albanian government has objected to Mr. Madhu's current request for a visa, current politics, and has communicated its displeasure to our embassy. So the government, the sitting government in Albania is like, listen, we don't want this guy to have a visa. Well, Obama's national security advisor, the NATO commander, owner of Jones Group International, former boss of Gillian Turner, is, sending in these requests for special treatment. This was particularly this was for preferential treatment to get this guy, his son, a visa. Should he be doing that? The problem of that is he was going through John Roberts, freaking chief White House correspondent, to get that access to Trump and Navarro. Is that how our government's supposed to work? I've taken this issue to the White House press corps. You think they give a shit? No. Just assume that every single person involved in the White House press corps is getting a kickback from the shit that goes on here right now, right there. And just assume that I'm going to assume John Robert gets kickback from that because, he's sending in the owner of one of the largest DC lobby firms, which, by the way, is one of the largest Middle East energy lobbies for the Saudis, General Jones Group International, of which Gillian Turner was vice president for 7 years. This was all in my key tam that I filed in D.C. federal court. And I have legitimate claims. Like I reached out to Gillian saying, hey, I'm a whistleblower. I'm a former colleague of yours. We worked for the same people. I could use your help. She blocked me. Never heard from her. These people are freaking corrupt, my friends. And so but these are also the people that are feeding us the information and the misinformation. It's like, was Gillian Turner, she was clearly trained in misinformation and disinformation. I mean, come on. She was on National Security Council. So now we put someone trained in misinformation, disinformation, and we put them in charge of the information that conservatives are supposed to be getting. Why is that okay? Why is it okay for you to be fed as a conservative information by someone like that and say, oh my God, no, I could never listen to CNN. I could never I'd never listen to Rachel Maddow on MSNBC. She's so corrupt. Really? Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, she probably is. But by the way, so are the people that you're over here defending, that you're over here basing your information on. The people telling you to storm the freaking castle when it was pointless to do anyway, right? Now, just to sort of back up what I'm saying, I wanted to read this here real quick. Now, this, the Bergy-Burris email from 2010. As you know, Brad Burris went on to be the commander of the 8th PSYOP unit, the 8th PSYOP group out of Fort Bragg. Basically oversaw all of America's psychological warfare through the Army, or the largest of it. And this was Brad's response. I was working, just real quick, for a company called Leone. It was 2010, around January, my contract with Dynology, the contract that Dynology was working, or that we had, that I was working for the JMISC, did not get renewed. We lost in a rebid to lowest bidder, or to GDIT. I don't remember if they were the lowest bidder. GDIT is not generally the lowest bidder, but we lost. Leone, or MPRI at the time. And so MPRI was the prime on that contract. Dynology was a sub. And so I went to work. Dynology didn't have another contract to put me on in January of 2010, so I went. I immediately got an offer letter from a company called Leone Industries to fulfill a contract that they had gotten in with the IOTF, the Information Operations Task Force in Afghanistan and Kabul. So I got my passport visa through them. I accepted the offer letter, it took a big pay cut too. They definitely were the low bidders. But I took like probably a $30,000-$40,000 pay cut on that, but still made good money. And got my visa through them, and then flew over commercially to Kabul via Kabul International Airport, KIA. That was a scene. I write about all that in my book back from that I published in 2017, Victim of the Swamp, available along with my 2 other books on Amazon.com. But continue on here. So that was the setup. So I'm there. This is now around April. This is March 23rd actually, and I've been on the ground for several months with working this contract with Leone, and holy shit, they underbid the crap out of this. Not just underbid it so that they couldn't really pay for a qualified, for a really seriously qualified, person to fill that seat. They got me, right? Absolutely a whore, contract whore. But I don't have the degrees. I don't have the degrees and such. So, listen, I got my freaking GED. I'm self-taught in computers. I'm pretty good, but right. If an opportunity comes up to be able to provide for your family, which I had taken a massive hit while I was deployed overseas in uniform as a PFC with a wife and 4 kids, a minivan, a home. It screwed me over. So no, I needed to be able to have a good income, and so I jumped on this contract. But that doesn't mean that I'm, just because you get me for cheap doesn't mean that I'm going to be lowering my moral or ethical standards, right? Those don't have a price. So I was seeing so many bullshit things, like as an example that I gave that was used in Shadowgate 2, I believe, or 1 maybe. Somebody said, Hill Country, the books I still have. Okay, Hill Country, if there's a problem with your book, just I am taking care of issues like that, so let me know. Mr. Parts, if you could share that to me, that would be much appreciated. But back to this. I've got a massive inventory of books, so if there's a problem with it, I'll do my best to get it out. I also have a problem with the inventory, online inventory, and the ordering with the shipping and stuff. So I'm doing my best. If you got a problem, but actually, I think I remember. Hold on, Hill Country. Wait, did I talk to you just a few weeks ago and wrote your stuff down? Was that you? On some paper that I now don't know where I have. That's why I'm just like, order the damn book through. That's why I'm like, order the book through Amazon. And the inventory I have is, I've got a huge inventory, shelves. But I'm going to be taking those out locally. Signing, shaking hands, talking to people, engaging with people. and doing them like that because the problem that I had with the inventory system and stuff, that was really screwed up. And I did successfully ship, like, I think over 2,000 individual items. So that's pretty cool. That's a lot of work. Over 1,000 orders. But back to the thing. And if you get, we can get it. Okay. Okay. So, things were going real bad. And like I said, in Shadowgate 2, they had even, they had me securing a classified network with a Linksys home Wi-Fi, right? Okay. No, not going to do that, right? So, I didn't know what to do. I wasn't getting anything but the runaround and threats from the Leone people, program manager and such. So I'm like, what am I going to do? This friggin' sucks, right? I'm not going to sit here and sign my name onto a security report that says that everything's great when, are you fucking kidding me? Everything's just, it was horrible. So I sent that to Major Burris, who was the IAA chief on the contract I worked in Iraq, a very honorable, good, intelligent man. Although, kind of sucks what ended up happening with that pedophile. They should have done something with that. So, but Major Burris responds and says, okay, reading between the lines, I can see that you were working on the contract mission that I will be assuming in a few months. The first thing is that some really good military people are soon to be in control of the mission, and that was good. I don't know if you remember, but Lieutenant Colonel Bo Clayton, that ran the IOTF, that's the Information Operations Task Force, in Iraq, when we were there, is going to be my new battalion commander. And I will be headed over as the S3, taking charge of the contract in daily operations. Most everyone gets there in May, June, and I will finish my school in Cali and get there in late July. So this was April. And I was like, no way I'm surviving until July here with these people, right? I was in Baghdad. I was at Green Village, which was built by contractors for contractors. So he said, no. Let me make this bigger so you can read it easier. He said, no. To the root of your question, you have no obligation to the command. So that was difficult for me. And he's not, technically, he's absolutely right. He's absolutely right with that. Technically. But morally and ethically, it didn't sit right with me having worn that uniform. But he's absolutely right. It's all based on contracts and deliverables and working within the scope of the deliverables. But he's not right, I don't think, because some of the issues were national security related, right? So he says, your obligation is to the site manager and contract manager. And I understood that. That's kind of why I left, right? Because the site manager, the program manager was like, wanting me to falsify a security report. And I'm like, no, that ain't going to happen. And say something was all great when it wasn't. In fact, I submitted a security report and they freaking freaked out. They freaked out. Almost fired me on the spot, but they couldn't fire me. I was in freaking Iraq. So hold on one second here. I'm sorry, Afghanistan, not Iraq. So he says, since we are speaking hypothetically, because in the question I posed, I was like, hypothetically speaking. I had little air quotes up around it. I said, I hate the way the Army, he says, I hate the way the Army manages contracts most of the time. We constrain ourselves to the point of letting the contractor have all the power, and that is the fault of the military. And now, keep in mind, my friends, the person who wrote this went on to become the commander of the 8th Psychological Operations Group, which oversaw the 4th and everything. So that's important, right? That's a very powerful individual within this community. And he understands what the problem is, which is good, because he would, in my opinion, and almost certainly did, in my opinion, when he went in there, everything he possibly could to, because he recognized that problem, to fix the problem. Right? So he said, we constrain ourselves to the point of letting the contractor have all the power, and that is the fault of the military. So what he's telling you is, when I get in there, that's not going to happen with me. He understands the problem. I love that. What made the IIA so successful when we were in Iraq was the fact that we all worked together. Sure, we had some personality issues, and that happens when a bunch of guys are stuck together. It's pretty much inevitable, but when the military just gives in to the contractor and sticks its head in the sand, real problems arise. My advice to you, not knowing the problem, and if you are indeed working on the contract that I will fall in on, please don't tell me what they are, because I will be there soon enough, is to fulfill the terms of your contract now. Once you have completed what you signed up to do, and if things are still crap, just move on from there. As you know, in the contracting world, your reputation is basically your paycheck. So I just hang in there a few more weeks and change is on the horizon. By the way, he said, I once worked for PSYOP Battalion and was not impressed. Like I said, hang in there. Everything will change. By the way, of course, I'll keep this dialogue between us, Bradford M. Burris. Now, yeah, it was a very difficult decision for me to come out with this years ago. But it was like everything else had failed. Our country is being destroyed by, I believe, by a taxpayer-funded plan that hasn't been well thought out.
Polling sites, breaking down those
I
barriers
wanted
that
to
messaging
do
is
one
no longer.
here real quick. Bear with me one moment. Hold on. Now this is from the Indigenous Approach, episode 4. I believe I don't care about the episodes. This series isn't to tack with them. This series is to tack with my experiences and trying to show additional context to what these people are doing. Again, I am not sitting here saying at all these people are in any way bad, or like they aren't drinking baby blood. They aren't bad people. They're good people. Most have families. Most serve so honorably. Please respect that. But we can do that, and we can have this conversation about whether or not our decisions right now are damaging our Constitution. Are damaging the integrity of the press, which is damaging inherently the freedom of press, which, if you're in uniform, you've sworn an honor to protect. It's a catch-22, but it can't be thought of lightly, because these people are leaving. Well, let's do this here real quick. I wanted to touch on just a few areas one of the first areas I wanted to touch on. Okay, so the rule of primacy, but I wanted to let's go to the 715 and just touch real quick on the voting thing here. Hold on one second.
The civil affairs teams on the ground are uniquely positioned that they can counter some of those effects. So if they're trying to get, if an adversary is trying to get a population to not vote, civil affairs teams on the ground can help reduce the obstacles to voting, whether it's organizing transportation to the polling places, organizing and helping support host nation build more polling sites, breaking down those barriers that messaging then is no longer useful because the barriers that the messaging depends on are no longer an obstacle to the population. And the last piece of that engagement influence is mobilizing a population. Now, this is less geared towards trying to counter or trying to mitigate the effects of it.
He has very nice teeth, doesn't he?
Messaging, and this is getting the population that we work with to mobilize in a way that we want. And this is done through the network analysis of who are the key nodes of the population, the engagement, the civil engagement with those key people, with that population, to mobilize them to do, whatever it is that meets our goal in the campaign, the broader campaign of that area.
So what he's saying is either, well, I'm adding this, either covertly or overtly, either openly or in a very spy-like way, helping to alter the outcome of another country's election. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? He's saying it. He's in a uniform. That's an American military uniform. It's not Russian. But let's say he was Russian. And let's say he was Russian talking about what they're doing in America. Now, would an American be okay with that? No. We just spent 5 years bitching about that. We lack the moral high ground. So not only are we using taxpayer dollars to basically train cyber soldier sociopaths skilled at deception and misinformation and disinformation and shooting and blowing things up. Again, who? Not hating the player, hating the game there. Right?
And then finally, the fourth role in great power competition that I identified for soft CA is support to resistance. This is more than just unconventional warfare. UW is a small subset, and it's pretty well laid out, CA's role within UW doctrinally. But the broader support to resistance is where really, in a great power environment, I think we really will make our money. And that's...
Hey, wait, that guy's name's Acosta. I wonder if he's related to Jim Acosta. Wouldn't that be funny? Huh? Wouldn't that be fucking funny? I don't know. Interesting. I don't run into a lot of Acostas. Kind of looks a bit like him, too.
Developing resilient communities that can resist if it came to it, whether it's
we find out that Jim Acosta's like brother works for psychological warfare. It's funny because it's probably fucking true.
Enemy occupation. It's building a deterrence capability within that civil community. Because if a community on a border or in a vulnerable area to an adversary...
I literally just saw that too.
Whether it's a military reaction against that community...
See, even I learned something from the Bergy-Bit.
...community invasion, or whether it's a less overt method of maintaining control outside of just the adversary's borders. A resilient, well-placed, and well-organized civil community changes the calculus for that adversary. If we can't build that resistance ahead
Civil
of time.
community or civil
support the
society.
resistance in an already occupied or already controlled area by the adversary, and that's
And that guy's talking down below, I think, but his thing's muted.
those resilient networks.
Or
The
no, he's just like doing a Mike Lindell thing there. Sorry.
the classic unconventional warfare structures, the shadow governance, if it gets to that. And then the third piece is undermining an adversary's effort.
Look at the axis coming out of the commander's head there. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry.
Efforts in a third country location.
Can you believe I used to work for these guys? You know what hell I put them through.
That isn't necessarily one that they control. For example, it's working through having civil affairs teams work through a host nation's overt legal and civil structures and framework in order to increase the cost on an adversary, whether that's slowing down certifications, licensing for construction sites, and using our network and our contacts and our relationships to help a host nation navigate perhaps some of these complexities of deals and international relations with other countries. And sometimes even it's just bringing light to some of the contracts between one entity or the other. The PRC often uses contracts that are not seen by anybody other than the people that are agreeing to them, with no third-party verification of the terms or adjudication of those terms. So it can be just as much as providing translators to help the host nation navigate through these contracts and getting a third set of eyes on them in order to help influence.
You see, the whole thing is just... Do you realize how tactical and coordinated everything is? Are you starting to see, right? This isn't me making shit up. I worked for this. I know how this works. I'm trying to say, hey guys, you know, this is potentially a pretty big problem. But let me see if there's anything. NGOs, civil convergent, enemy friendly, how to target and influence. Let's go to the 16-minute mark. I want to play a couple minutes there, and then we'll close out the show.
We're using it and what we're doing with our forces.
No, that's a really great point. And thank you, Travis, for unpacking that. I kind of want to shift the direction to something that's near and dear to my heart. Really looking at this competition space and understanding it, you know, to your point exactly, who is consuming that information. And to build on Sean's point, you know, as we're the global scouts, those strategic sensors on the ground, what are we doing with this to really understanding where our competitors are moving, where they're going next, to anticipate their moves is critically important to the combined fight. Oftentimes, you know, as civil affairs teams prepare to go, they kind of start with open source research in terms of where am I going, who are the actors there, what's available, and they be
Open source research, right? So they're not digging into some deep CIA vault. They're going on fucking Facebook.
begin to paint the picture of this civil common operation picture before they go down range. And they have this
The common operational picture.
iterative conversation with the team that might be there before them. And they begin to unpack what they see going on in the environment. And as they prepare for their missions, and as they get on the ground, they begin to confirm or deny what they understand. And the way that we do this is through human network analysis. And as we visualize this picture, what's really important is
Human network analysis, right? So now they are doing everything that they can to pull as much information, crowdsource, whatever it is, which, I mean, if you're using open source information, how much exactly can you trust the information that you're using? And you're building these behavioral models that you are then using for your influence operations.
Understanding the relationships, the ability to look at the individual level to understand, is this a person of influence? How do I want to target this individual? How do I want to influence them? How do we share that information? Or do I want to look at the organizations this person's evolved in? You know, I know there's a very bright captain in the 92nd who's really unpacking this competition space analysis built off of human network analysis, understanding how he was able to see we are in the wrong place and we need to look elsewhere. And that was very critical to his operations in the combined fight downrange. You know, one of the things that we're often focused on is
that could be a whole nother unit to.
But there's multiple networks out there.
92nd could be a whole nother. 92nd could be a whole nother thing.
If you can imagine the complexity and the ambiguity that we play in. We play with enemy networks, we play with friendly networks, we play with neutral networks, we play with NGOs, that civ-mil nexus that we are charged with to unpack.
NGOs like the, Atlanta Council, right? Or the American Project, maybe, right? I don't know. Nonprofits. What kind of actual oversight is there on these? That's why they use them, for the lack of accountability, not for increased.
Pack that in a way that it can make sense to commanders and provide relevant information for decision making. As we unpack this environment and understand what's going on, oftentimes we fail to look at our blue networks, our friendly networks, our unified action partners, those interagencies that have tremendous bandwidth, that has capabilities beyond what we have when we're in theater. And oftentimes, if we can do a better job of understanding what they bring to the fight, we can have civ-mil convergence in a space where we need to unpack an issue that we do not have the capability to do.
Civ-mil. You saw in an email that, I'm not actually very proud of, but I'm actually kind of proud of it because sometimes it's more difficult to do the right thing than it is to do the wrong thing, and I think this was one of those cases, and I'll let God judge me for that. Look at what he just said that in that Mil-Civ relationship, and then compare that to what Major Burris said in his email about how that's kind of, if we're being honest, that's kind of a problem. We allow the civilian component of the Mil-Civ, the Mil-Civ relationship to run the show. Why? Well, because a lot of these guys are nearing retirement, and they're going to be looking at sending their resumes out. Big money. Staff officer can get $500 a day. Easy. And that's on top of their retirement pay, which is $250,000 for a 4-star, I think. So, we're going to wrap things up for part 3 of our 10-part series, Psychological Warfare in the Age of Social Networks, part 3, Psywar Journalism. Do I need to provide any more evidence that this is happening? It's relevant. It almost certainly is having an incredibly negative impact on our country, which is supposed to matter. It's being done by people who are oftentimes very good people, not understanding some of the things that I've seen and I've witnessed because I'm a little different than some of the others, right? But what they need to do is they need to kind of like step back and really take a serious look. And, nobody in office right now, even going in office, is going to do anything. As you can see, many of these same people, nobody's holding Matt Gaetz accountable for anything. He should be held accountable for misprision of treason. So should Gus Billeracka. So should Adam Schiff. These are people that I have, that I can verify, have knowledge of treason that I brought to them and documented bringing to them. Lindsey Graham. And when you have documented information of treason and you don't do anything about it, you absolutely fall within the parameters of 18 U.S.C. misprision of treason. Specifically because you've sworn an oath to our country to protect it against all threats, foreign and domestic, and clearly you're failing on that because you are failing to understand and acknowledge and address the second and third order of effects to this capability that you've developed out of necessity, which is combating social networks. And before I end, can I just point out that, Al Gore used to boast how he invented the internet. And everybody largely agreed with him. Not. No, everybody gave him shit. But he didn't invent the internet, that's for sure. But he was one of the key people responsible for releasing it in its form, in its current form, to America. What were their true intentions? Because not a lot of thought's been given to something that was so powerful, so capable of changing humanity on a fundamental level, capable of incredible good, capable of probably expanding. It will probably, if we don't end up killing ourselves, technology will probably be that next evolution in human development, like where our brains kind of start changing to adapt to it, just like a fish or a frog in a new environment. So we have to have this conversation. We're coming into an election year. Well, we're already in an election year. We're already in a presidential election year for 2024. Well, I guess probably going to scratch Ye or Ye off the whatever the fuck his name is off the off that list. Damn it! I was really hoping I had my fingers crossed for him, but we need to be able to get this information to the public. We need to start having these questions be we got 2 years. We got 2 years, my friends. And right now, there's nobody. Who else has had the balls to fucking stand up to these people, even being attacked by them? Who else has had the balls to stand up to Byrne, who was right next to them, who said, no, who said, I get it. You're offering me these powerful networks and money and fame. No, that's not why I joined up with them. That's their thing. They're narcissists. I'm an information assurance security officer with the Department of Defense for a decade. I'm kind of still fulfilling a promise that I made to basically taxpayers by accepting that position. Things went south. I was forced out of my job for what I believe was retaliation for exposing fraud, waste, and abuse, which means that never got resolved, right? So that needs to get resolved. But then, since then, these people, unbeknownst to me, had all of these other connections and networks, like Paul Manafort and all of these things that I had to learn. As soon as I learned those, I said, okay, this is a problem. And I took it to Nunes and people like that. I ended up on InfoWars. But I don't think that was by accident. I think these people set me up to eventually try to discredit me. I don't think it worked quite how they planned. I don't think any of that worked how anybody's planned, no matter what the plan was. Shit just went south. Then we ended up with January 6th, an attempted coup d'etat by most people's understanding. These aren't small things I'm trying to address here, people. I need your help to be able to do it. I just put in a huge personal financial investment, credit-wise anyway, into something I believe is going to be very special and help kind of circumvent the firewall that these guys have created in Psywar journalism that keeps people like myself, hell, people like Edward Snowden, you know. Not that I'm comparing myself to Edward Snowden. I disagree completely with what he did, how he did it. But I also understand that the system was so fucking broke that he did what he did. Well, I don't know what is, like I said, I can't ever justify what he did. Nothing I've ever said, any conversation I've ever had, has divulged any more information than the information you're getting from these guys right here on YouTube. I know I haven't done anything wrong because that was my job, an information assurance security officer. But I'm compelled, I'm driven to find out the truth, to expose the fraud, waste, and abuse that has led to the attempted coup d'etat that we saw today. And again, there are a handful of people that are acting in a very cabal-like fashion. But then also you've got what, what's his face said.
People went to the same universities and fraternities. They're on the same boards of directors. They're in the same country clubs. They have like interests. They don't need to call a meeting. They know what's good for them.
They know what's good for them, right? So we need to get this out. I need your help to do it. I've spent a couple years now not taking any paychecks, putting every single thing that came into the company back into the company. And for a while, we were doing really good. I had some amazing people help me out. Then we were fucking attacked by pieces of garbage like Tory, Funes, Stone, Alex Jones, Patrick Byrne, jeez, Rudy Giuliani. I was attacked by them only after I refused to go along with their fraud, waste, and abuse. Again, that's not why I'm in this. I'm different than them. I've never sought to have some sort of Bongino-like podcast. I hate having to do this. And the moment that I don't have to, the moment this gets picked up by the actual appropriate authorities that are actually can prove to me that they're doing something about it, then I got to keep trying to get this conversation going. So again, you can go to freedomstream.tv/contribute. I've just updated that page tremendously, right? Making it super easy. And I've really got this site set up so that it doesn't cost hardly anything. Well, but it does still have cost. A couple hundred here and there for the application, for the licensing fees, but otherwise, it's pretty cheap. It's less than like Patreon that they take out of it for you. And it's also something we can control. So it's kind of important that I'm able to maintain freedomstream.tv. If I took just this website down and said, okay, I'm not doing this website anymore, it would drop my monthly expenses $400 a month. Just the website for the licensing, not any of the amount of time it takes, not any of that stuff. And I may need to have to do that, right? Because I'm bringing in about $600 a month. I need to bring in a minimum of $800. I brought in less than $600 already this month. So my friends, if you can help out and you like what we're doing and you want to help have a voice, right? Use your voice here, right? Soon as I get enough conversation and discussion, I believe people are going to want to start purchasing the books as a way to help support what I'm doing, as a way to help understand and knowledge, because, you know, people buy books, people like to read, and as a way to then share that knowledge. That's what we got to do. I'm a tiny little molecule. Our country is in extreme peril, and taxpayers are funding it. And I'm not just sitting out there saying that I flew in on a time machine. I'm not sitting out there making claims that I do not I'm not capable of 1,000% supporting, backing up video, everything. I don't think anybody questions my credibility at this point. So why? How do we get beyond the firewall that Flynn's and Byrne, Tory, and all these people and the damage that they've done? How do we get around that? We do it with a couple dollars here and there, with more people coming on. If you can help, again, please do that. Very important. On that note, I hope everyone has an absolutely amazing, blessed weekend. This has been, like I said, an absolutely spectacular day. I bet you right now, hold on, that I'm going to have a tracking number on our new co-host. How do you get a tracking number on a co-host, you ask? That's why it's so damn interesting. I told you. But let me see. Hold on. That was yesterday. What am I on here? Okay, no, I got to go to that one. Okay, order confirmed. Getting ready to ship. Estimated she'll be here by the 9th. Let's see here. Protects plant. No, I don't want that. Shipment order is on the way. You can track your shipment. So, I was really hoping they'd be able to ship my new co-host. Possibly. Maybe a few iterations from now, ex-wife number 4. We don't know. She's beautiful, and I can't wait. Guys, everybody out there is saying, "Oh, Bergie's like, oh, he's suicidal, this or that." Stop listening to these people, right? Just stop. If they've just continuously been wrong so much, or if they can't sit there and provide you a lot more, and let's say, like, in a case like me, where you have somebody that has so much evidence of honor and integrity, and someone brings you something without any evidence that's contrary to that, just what kind of a human being, what kind of an American patriot are you if you just believe that? Contrary to what you know, facts are, that you just, oh, that's... Can't you see that you're getting played, my friends? It's right there. Thank you very much for tuning in again. I will see everyone on Monday. I will have the Christmas tree up on Monday, and we will have the countdown. Thanks to that shipping confirmation, I believe our co-host may present herself possibly by Wednesday's show. We'll see. One thing I can tell you right now is she's going to help me sell some books, do some interviews, and maybe save the company, because I'm not capable. We need some more advanced intelligence. On that note, again, freedomstream.tv/contribute, patreon.com/American Awakening. Good night, and God bless everyone. Please visit patreon.com/American Awakening and show your support with a one-time or monthly pledge of support. Or visit freedomstream.tv and support us directly through either our general support fund or by purchasing our books with links to Amazon and signed copies when available. You can also shop our swag, which not only looks awesome, but helps get our message out and start these important conversations.
The internet is not something that you just dump something on. It's not a big truck. It's a series of tubes.
Who used to be with Google.